So welcome to the first ever KingDependent Spotlight interview. Today, I am here with a friend of mine, Ola Baikie. Welcome, Ola.
Hey, what's up? Thank you. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
So for those of you who don't know, KingDependence is economic and educational dependence on King Jesus. Check out www.kingdependent.com, where we will be launching our first arm of the KingDependent brand, KingDependent Consultancy, which is all about promoting kingdom business, keeping our money in the kingdom, just like the Hebrews do or did, just like the Jews do. And today we just want to discuss about Ola's journey into KingDependence. And so, Ola,
Yes.
me and you have a similar background, and I say a similar background, but we just went to the same uni. You started to take life a lot more seriously than I did from earlier. That's where I think the similarities end.
That's because I got my wake-up call during the A-levels.
Well, yeah, my wake-up call didn't come till a lot longer. But we both run businesses, yes, and we both have a similar story in the fact that we were both working somewhat in the corporate world, and then I say you kind of voluntarily went the KingDependent route, so to speak. I kind of was forced into that. So yeah, tell us about your background and your journey into KingDependence.
Sure. Okay, so just to give you guys a bit of background to myself, as Michael alluded to, we went to the same university, where University of Kent, where I studied economics. My degree was called Financial Economics with Econometrics. I graduated in 2009, which was the height of the global financial recession. My first job was in a call center for an asset management firm. And because of that, I decided to go back to university and do a master's to just try and boost my credentials within the job market. So I went to Cambridge. I did my master's at Cambridge in economics, straight economics. Graduated from Cambridge, and then I went to work and train with one of the largest professional services firm in the UK. They're called Grant Thornton. I actually trained in their regional offices within the Thames Valley. So that's kind of covering Oxford and Reading. That was a very humbling experience, which I can touch on later, because I never intended to be an accountant. In fact, it was a few years into my role that God reminded me of a conversation I had had all the way back in Kent with another friend when we had gone to a job fair with accountancy firms, and we left that job fair. My friend asked me what I thought, and I said something very derisory. So if that's the word, just kind of saying these firms are dead. You would never catch me working with them. So
arrogance
God has a sense of humor. So that was another one of the doses of humility God handed to me. And when I was at the job, so it's a graduate program, which is 3 years. You train up as an accountant. You have to sit exams for that. And as I was coming towards the end of my graduate scheme, I just started to feel like, I don't know, a sort of tug on my heart that it was time to move on to the next phase. I did not know what that next phase was or was going to be. And it was a little anxious. I'm not very anxious, but so I've always been entrepreneurial from when I was young. And over the course, whilst I was, whilst I was training up as an accountant, I just kept dabbling in various business endeavors unsuccessfully. But because of that, I'd always had a passion to want to do my own thing. Interlaced with that is I've had I've had some health challenges. And one thing that my mom always said to me growing up was that I need to, out of all the kids, make sure I'm working for myself. So seeds were sown from when I was very young. And so as I came to the end of my graduate program, I handed in my resignation. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have a plan. And the funny thing is that when I started to feel anxious, I started to look for jobs, and I will make it to the second round. And literally, as I would be going for the interview, for the second round interview, I would literally feel in the spirit that something disastrously was about to go wrong. And it was like as if as soon as I step in the room, it was like fire and brimstone. Like they just wanted to attack me, just wanted to make it so difficult for me, like ask the most difficult questions. And so this happened, I had, a couple of times, and that kind of also sort of cemented my decision to step away and go on this journey with God, where God started to, where God isolated me, he literally isolated me. I started to just chip away. It was a wilderness experience. And then he started to show me various avenues of where he wanted to use me, and just kind of start to reveal more of the details for regarding his plan for my life, which he'd already started to do maybe a couple of years before that. So this was all in 2015. I literally wasn't doing anything till the beginning of 2016, and that's when the idea for Economic Street came up, which was my first real startup that I then embarked on with one of my other friends, our mutual friend. Economic Street is a financial literacy platform just aimed at improving just financial education, targeted predominantly at our age group and the age group immediately below and above us. And from there, I went in to set up a educational consultancy called TESC, which stands for the Exam Success Company. Predominantly work with secondary school and higher education students, from everything from just providing tuition services to helping with their UCAS, etc. And then also Greenfield, which is my accountancy practice. So those were like the some of the strings to my bow. And also I invest within the stock market. That's something I'm passionate about. And it's funny because I despised humble beginnings. So I mentioned at the start that my first job after graduating with the first class was working in a call center. Unbeknownst to me, that would actually be the seeds that was sown for me to, develop the understanding for the investment space, because that was with what we call an investment firm, an asset management firm. And that's when I began to really understand stock market, how the investment industry works. And now I'm putting some of those skills to use. So God uses everything.
So you literally are walking by faith, because I guess had you kept pursuing jobs and maybe got one, all of the dots that God was trying to line up wouldn't have lined up
at all. And I'd been very frustrated. I was someone from a very early age that there was always that burning question: why am I here? What am I to do? And I always said to myself, I did not want to get to the end of my life and look back with regret, thinking I'd lived a life that was unfulfilled. And that was what, despite the trepidation of, I come from a traditional background. I'm African. And I'm not the firstborn, but I'm the firstborn son. So you understand that also carries some expectations. And for somebody to walk away from their job, career, what are you going to be doing? Explanation. So
I did not come to this country too.
exactly. And with all the thousands of pounds that have been spent on my education. So despite that, what I said to myself was, I would rather do it now and fail, because at the moment I didn't have dependents. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. So it was now or never, because once those come, priorities change. And I've literally sat in meetings with men in men's groups where they're pouring their heart out and almost basically saying that right up to their wedding day, right up to the church, God was telling them they don't have to do this. And now that they're in there, like, they feel very unfulfilled because they've got responsibilities, which then mean that it makes it more difficult to pursue their passions. And I didn't want to be that guy, because I know what I'm like. I'll be very frustrated and it will show on my face.
Yes. Yeah. Let's not go there.
Let's not go there. So so that's why, by no stretch of the imagination has it been easy. But I have certainly felt fulfilled. I don't have that feeling where, it's hard to get up in the morning, like it was when I was still in the corporate world, because this is a fit. And I think that's the great thing. Very few people end up in careers that align with their passions and their purpose. Very, very few. And so if you're not one of those people, this is a journey that you have to go on with God. Otherwise, you're going to feel very unsatisfied, and then you're going to be looking for fulfillment in things that are transient and really don't matter. So yeah, for me, it was important. I was 27 at the time when I stepped out in faith, and now, yeah, I'm coming into my 6th year of doing it. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
So it sounds like you built a solid foundation to springboard from. Interesting. You talked about, the journey. Now you know what you know, and I'm going to ask this in two parts. If you knew what you know now back when you was 16, how would your journey have been different? And now, how will you direct the course of your children's life
Very
based on what
simple.
you know?
Very. I want to be up in the club with you.
With me? No, don't try and blame me. Don't try. Don't bring me into this.
I would have been up in the club. I would have been taking. I mean, I went to uni with a renewed focus and determination because, like I said, I got my wake up call in my A levels.
Yeah.
I never intended to go to Kent, so I took my academics seriously. But in terms of the pursuits of, my calling, the purpose of God in my life, I would have taken that aspect way more seriously, because at university, as most people know, you have a lot of free time in your hands. So that is the best time to start to hone your skills.
Going into your purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I like to compare it is like footballers. Footballers start at the age of 7, right? So by the time they get to 18, that's 11, 12 years of solid refinement. We now are getting to our late 20s, late 20s, before we even start going on those journeys. So we have a lot of catching up to do. So that's what I've done differently. And because I understand how the financial system now works, also, I would have known how to access capital to fund these endeavors. Even something as simple as your student loan that people used to use to buy at the bar, you could have made they could have made a ton of money on that. Just put it in the stock market. Without even
buying blazers.
Exactly.
Buying blazers and cufflinks and shirts.
Well, you know very well about that, don't you? So
no, you're right. The amount of money we wasted at uni that we could have invested in the stock market, even in property. I think when I look back, all of us at some stage had some extra cash. I know I definitely did. And we could have invested in something. We could have bought a property up north for one of those, those university investment properties where you buy an apartment for like 20 grand in Manchester, you just leave it. Like we could have done anything. We could have done something, and we didn't think collectively then as well, because obviously there's the individual side. But I think, especially to do with KingDependence, there is the whole group economics of the KingDependent thing that we need to get into. So speak to that. How can we work together now? So in this KingDependent consultancy, the tagline is keeping your money in the kingdom. And other than promoting your businesses for free, we offer consultancy services on how to be KingDependent, what it means. We offer project management and account management services between business and customers. Speak to the whole group economics thing. You've got an economics background. Speak to that. How can we as Christians now actually just literally follow what the Hebrews were doing, and actually what a lot of other groups of people like Muslims and the modern day Jews are doing? How do we start to operate like that now as believers in the kingdom in the end time?
Sure. I think for me, the starting point is we actually need a renewal of the mind. We've been ingrained to pursue independence, which isn't godly.
And individualism.
Exactly. And I've always just believed in the power of partnership and agreement. And there's several scriptures that allude to this in the Bible. How can two walk together except they be agreed? It's not necessarily just about marriage that, one can chase 1,000, two can chase 10,000. So there is power in cooperation, and being able to partner together. So, but I think we need to go on that we need a rewiring of our mind to actually see this and embrace that, and not think that, hold on, if somebody is in the space, that's my competitor. There's enough room in the marketplace for everybody to operate. There's over 7 billion people on this planet, and now we're all interconnected because of the internet. So you don't have to feel that you have to step on somebody else to succeed in life. You don't have to. So for
We've
me,
been
I think
taught that from nursery.
yeah, and this is the issue. So I think, and you see this play out a lot in the corporate world, because people are jostling for position, people are trying to move up the corporate ladder, but they've now entrenched their identity in their jobs. So, and that's what then makes it even more difficult to then work with other people. So I think that's the first stage. And then I think it's actually realizing that also, let's not beat around the bush. If we're calling ourselves Christians, then our first responsibility is to ourselves as the body of Christ, as members of one body, and then to the Gentiles. So
Correct, 100%.
we can't fulfill kingdom mandate in terms of going out into the world if we ourselves are not right. And I think that's what we also have to understand, because the world will come to the brightness of a rising, regardless of whether they believe in God or not. If they see this thing that they can't quite articulate or place their finger on, if they see that in you. And I'm
Correct.
seeing it even more in my life now, that, you know, friends that I have that are not believers from other religions will just say, pray for me. And just start, they're very inquisitive, because people are starting to ask a lot more of life. And I think if they see a community that functions under a different atmosphere, under a different system that is working, that will be very attractive to the rest of the world. So I think those are the two things. We need a renewal of the mind, and then we need to actually, and that would then help us to work together more as a coordinated body within Christ.
And that, my friends, is the kingdom, God's way of doing things: righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. When the world see that, then they will be jealous and want to know, what is this thing? What is this love that they share amongst them? What is this community? It is said that when Christianity, or when the church that Jesus left became a thing, all of the other religious people and pagans around Jerusalem and the world, when the Christianity started to spread, were always confounded by the love of the brethren, because at that time there was a lot of orgies and everything was all sexual, but the love and the bond between the Christians completely blew away everything that was around it, and people became intrigued because it was pure. And it was that community, that going from house to house, that all things common, that unselfish attitude, that actually helped Christianity spread in its early form. And it's interesting because you alluded to the rejection of basically Western philosophy, which is individualism. All we are now seeing is just literally trying to go back to the book of Acts, being like that church who rejected all of the philosophy, the Greek and the Roman philosophy of the day, which is funnily enough become the foundation of Western society. So everything the Apostle Paul talked about in Romans 1 and Hebrews and Galatians and Ephesians, like this is all now, and all it's all kingdom.
Itself.
And it's right. And if we embody that, and I like the way you said, you know, that thing they can't put their finger on, because they asked Jesus, where is the kingdom? Like, you can't see the kingdom. It don't come with observation. The kingdom's in you.
Yeah.
So that is it. You just preach the gospel right there of the kingdom. So we don't even need to prolong this interview no more. Someone should be blessed by this. We're not going to ask for an offering, but you know the word was spoken. So if you do want to, if you do want to make us sow a seed, no, I'm joking. But so yeah, what's your future plans? What's your future plans?
Future plan is to. It's amazing. Like this journey has been 5 years so far, and one of the ways that God speaks to me, communicating images, pictures within the spirit realm. So, for example, I will see myself on a construction site, and that's me building. And what I saw at the start of last year was that I'd finally just laid the foundations in place. And that was after 4 years. So that's how long it took just to lay foundations. So now it's just about building. I'm building that building as far as it can go. My two passions are predominantly education, because I think that's a great equalizer, and also healthcare, and because of my experiences and trying to pour money back into those sort of spheres, in addition to supporting kingdom focused organizations. So for me, that is the end to, the means. And then, to crack on with the next phase of my life and settle down. And
yes, he's single.
Yes.
By the way.
Shameless plug. At me. No,
so if there's any wives, not women, we don't want women, we want wives.
Yeah,
so if there's any wives, you can contact us at KingDependent.com, fill out the form, and we'll know what to do with it. We'll pass it on to the right
We'll go from there.
But no, you can give out your business, your primary contact address. People want to get in touch with you for any of your services. How should they get in touch?
Lovely. So if you're in need of an accountant or tax purposes, advisory purposes, best way to get hold of me is to either go to the website, which is www.greenfieldaccounting.co.uk, or to email me at info@greenfieldaccounting.co.uk. For financial education services, look us up. We're called Economic Street. So you can find us by that handle, by that name on social media or on the website. And yeah, if you have kids that are in need of tuition services, holler at me for that as well. You can find out details at excesslearning.com.
Right. And you can find Ola's businesses along with many others, starting from, I believe it's Monday, or is it Friday, the 29th of January at www.KingDependent.com. Check it out. Thank you very much, Ola. And hopefully we'll be able to do another interview in a few years' time when you've started to, put the roof on the building potentially, because they say that, the higher the building, the deeper the foundation. So you spent 4 years putting the foundation in, so we're expecting a high rise, and I want like an apartment. So I'd like a little apartment on the top floor, swimming pool, balcony. Thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. Well, no, thanks for having me. And I just want to say, guys, definitely plug into this platform. They're doing fantastic work. And I think it's something that has been long overdue for the body of Christ. So definitely plug yourselves into what they're doing and definitely sign up.
All right. Thank you very much. See you on the next one. Take care.